In this lecture, we're going to take a look at a case study in sustainable design because it helps once you start looking at the parts and pieces to have a whole that you've already example that you've already looked at to attach it to. There are also case studies in your textbook that will help show you how the math is calculated, if you will. So this is called the Charlotte, Vermont house, and that is because it is located in Charlotte, Vermont. I'm gonna, give examples when we look at case studies, I'm gonna give examples from all over North America because if you want to be able to work on projects outside your local area, it helps to be able to know how to work in other areas. So we're going to look at what is called a net zero energy house, meaning they don't bring in any energy. They produce all the energy they use, and it's really cool. So we're gonna look at the construction project. It is a very simple house, not my style, not my cup of tea, but I appreciate what has been done here, what they've done with the sustainability aspect of this. This was actually built by a husband and wife architecture team who live here. So they were the architects and they are the clients. And they say that a lawyer who has himself as a client is a fool. I'm not so sure it works that way with architects, but maybe. So here's Vermont. Here's Burlington. And Charlotte is just south of Burlington. And so it is a part of the country that gets very, very cold in the winters. And so insulation was a very important part of this project. So here's some just general information. The project size is 2,800 square feet for this residential single family. The cost ended up being $196 per square foot. So if you multiply that times the project size, you will get the construction cost. That is not the budget cost. The budget will include fees. Your fee as a designer, the contractor's fee for building, all his subcontractors' fees. It will include things like permit costs and other things that are part of the process that vary from project to project. So there's miscellaneous other essentials. Owners David Pill and Hillary Meraham. I'm not sure I'm saying that right, but they are the owners. In fact, they have their own architecture firm. And in fact, they've given everybody their contact information, as well as they've talked about architects who assisted them in the process. So this was a collaboration. Oops. Okay, so basically, David Pill said, he wrote this. This was his blog, and the link was to his blog. I just copied and formatted it into a PowerPoint slide presentation because I just I lecture better if I have more chunked information. So he basically said, as the architect / client, my wife and I had a vision. We either wanted to renovate an existing home for maximum efficiency or find a pre-developed site to begin a self-sufficient homestead. So they found this 44-acre site because it had great solar access, and I'll show you a picture, or I did show you a picture up here. Yeah. See, this is in the middle of a field. So that's what they mean by solar access. So no matter where the sun is at any time of the day, it's hitting the house. And in Vermont, that's ideal. In Georgia, no thank you. Okay, so there was already a house that was there. And oh, wait a minute. Sorry, I thought I had read this a little more clearly. That was kind of interesting. They said somebody bought the horse boarding business and moved the metal structure, saving everything down to the roofing screws. Okay, so there was a building there. They just moved it. Our master site plan kept the new house and the new parking area, as well as any future outbuildings within the existing footprint of the old arena. This allowed minimal impact to the remaining 43 acres because, you want to go somewhere else, you're going to have to disrupt habitat. That's not considered sustainable to go cutting down trees. Unless they're pine trees, and then you replace them with oaks and elms and dogwoods, and then it is. Because you're replacing now. Pine trees grow very, very fast, so by the time they're about 40 years old, they're now kind of at the peak, and they're starting to decline. So after 40, the odds of them falling on your house get higher. So build, if you plant 2 trees for every one you cut down, kind of offsets. But you really don't want to disturb the area any more than you have to, and that was their goal here, was to have minimal impact on the rest of the site. And so it's pretty level. There was not a whole lot. I think I put this picture in again, so you'll see this again. That's not exactly their floor plan, I don't think. It's close though. This is close. They have a bigger porch, but it's similar, just to kind of show you the layout. Okay, so the construction of the house started in September of 2006 and finished 11 months later. Depending on your project, that's interesting. They were building with snow on the ground. It's hard to do that, so you want to make sure that if you do all your site prep before it's going to get cold enough, because the ground freezes in Vermont. And once the ground is frozen, digging through it is difficult. And so you want to make sure all that gets done in the warmer months. So when you're scheduling your construction. And then, now it's winter and they're still working on it. Snow everywhere, but you can work on it once you get it finished out like that. And so basically what happened was it was like a giant cooler. That's styrofoam. And the styrofoam, you guys worked with coolers, styrofoam kept the house like a nice cooler. But insulation works both ways in keeping things inside warm when they want to be warm and cool when they want to be cool. And that just helps drive your energy efficiency. If your walls are made out of styrofoam, and they can't just be made out of styrofoam, they have to be made out of a structure, and then the styrofoam is added to it. But if you have this styrofoam, it makes it a lot harder for there to be heat loss and heat gain in your house. And heat loss is when your say it's in the winter and you're running your heat and heat goes out the glass of the windows, or it goes out the cracks around your windows. It goes out anywhere that it can go out. That's heat loss. Heat gain is in the summer when the sun penetrates those same barriers and comes inside. And so in order to make this as efficient as possible, he made the walls very thick styrofoam in the walls to help reduce the heat gain and the heat loss. Okay, so they said they had several goals in mind when they set out to design their residence. It was their intention to create a house that maintained all the amenities of a conventional home with as little environmental impact as possible. So they didn't want to burn any fossil fuels on site, yet they wanted it to be designed and, their style. And they did, and it's very minimalistic, but they did design it well. And they wanted to use conventional means and methods possible so that it would be affordable and replicatable, meaning they wanted to use things like stick framing. They didn't want to use anything weird like, there are these bio blocks where inside the block are algae, and the algae control the temperature of the house, right? So they wanted to use more traditional methods. The challenge was to do all of this in a cold northern climate. And they knew the only way they were going to achieve that net zero energy use was to create a house that had an ultra low energy budget, utilizing all the natural renewable energy sources the site had to offer. Okay, and so what they did was this. They created an all-electric house using the sun's energy passively, using the earth for mechanical heating and domestic hot water, and wind via a single net metered 10 kilowatt wind turbine. The house is a documented and verified net energy producer, actually putting more energy back into the grid than it uses for all of its needs, including cooking. In addition to being a 5-star Energy Star rating, and Vermont builds Greener certified house. It has also received the U.S. Green Buildings Council's highest LEED rating of platinum, and one of the first Vermont and the first in the nation to receive the NESEA Net Zero Energy Prize in 2009. So they not only met their goals, they exceeded them. And we're going to talk about how they did that. He's very forthcoming about what he did. That's one of the great things about this. Okay, and so there's a link here, and unfortunately you can't see it. Sorry about that. It made the color the same as the page, and I couldn't change it. This is a link to what more information about net zero energy homes. And it's a net zero energy project. And it does talk about how to do that. So their overall project goal and / philosophy was to create a house that maintained all the amenities of a conventional home with as little environmental impact as possible, to eliminate all fossil fuel burning on site, to maintain a high level of design and detail, to use the most convenient means and methods possible so to be affordable and replicatable. I already said that. I apologize. It was in 2 places. I just copied and pasted and reformatted, and I didn't even see that. I try to catch stuff like that, but oh well. Okay, so they had security goals. Then they wanted it to be able to be energy efficient, but also they wanted to be able to produce their own food. So that's what they mean by secure. So energy security was achieved through an efficient and tight enclosure design. They literally sealed every possible crack they could. And then, they had the wind turbine. To ensure healthy indoor air quality for the inhabitants, since you have now reduced heat flow, they installed a heat recovery ventilator. And that made sure they had proper ventilation during the winter months, because otherwise the CO2 can build up. And the narrow footprint allows cross ventilation to cool the home in the summer months. Natural and non-toxic materials and finishes were also specified for indoor air quality. So their sustainable goal was to take advantage of the environmental, social, and economic standpoints of the site. Environmentally, the home's design and construction treads lightly on the land and eliminates all fossil fuel burning. Materials and finishes were chosen for their life cycle analysis of environmental impacts, durability, and recyclability. I'll give you an example. I went to the Milliken carpet tile factory many, many years ago and watched them make carpet tile. And they had a cradle-to-grave life cycle of the product. They made it, and it was made out of oil because carpet tile for commercial use is plastic. So it's completely made out, not completely, but almost completely made out of plastic. After the carpet tile was complete and installed, when when the next person was ready to come in or move into the space, they would reclaim the carpet tile and recycle it. And a lot of their plastic actually came from recycled car parts, because there's a lot of plastic in cars. They cultivate the land, growing their own vegetables, minimizing demand for globally transported produce. Socially, our trails link with the community to nature and produce produce from the land is being bartered with community members. Oh, and produce produced from the land is being bartered with community members. Sorry, I was like 2 different words, right? So anything that they harvest is being bartered. So they and their neighbors are essentially sharing vegetables and swapping out vegetables. So the design of the home is vernacular in nature, relating to the history of the place, and yet the home maintains all the amenities of a conventional home. Economically, the cost of the home's amenities will ensure its resale value, and the energy independence ensures its affordability as energy prices increase. Okay, we're going to stop here and continue in the next video.